Hi everybody. So this week we're looking at the final stage or the final part of our implementation stage, okay? And we're going to be looking at adding in some JavaScript into our web pages, okay? So what I've done on the right hand side of the screen there, you can see I've made up a very simple, excuse me, very simple HTML page there. Just with a title on it. I've got like the simple head and a body with an H1 heading, a couple of paragraphs and an image. So to actually view it on a browser, it literally looks like that. Okay, we've got your heading, the two paragraphs and a simple wee image, and that's it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of JavaScript functions that we can add into this just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay. Now, at National 5 level, the JavaScript code that you need to know is on mouse over and on mouse out, okay? Now, on mouse over, on mouse out usually work together, okay? So when you have an on mouse over event, it's usually you'll maybe scroll your mouse over the top of something and that will change the appearance. And then when you use it on mouse out, it changes it back to how it used to look or to something different. Okay, so it can be used quite a lot of times with for images, for example. You might have a thumbnail images on your web page, and what you want to do when you scroll the mouse over is make those images become bigger so that the viewer can actually see the picture better. Or it might be that you've got some text that you want to highlight, so it might change the background color of it or just the size of it or the color of the text and so on. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of those. So introducing JavaScript here, we've got JavaScript can be used to ensure that your web content responds to the user in real time. It makes your pages what's called dynamic, okay? It gives it that interactive element to your web pages and just makes it a little bit more interesting for people to use. Now, JavaScript code is often contained in its own file, much like a cascading style sheet file, okay? And then we have a link to it into your HTML document. The code that I'm just going to show you today, though, is just using this bit that's down at the bottom here is the script. Okay, we're going to actually embed the script into our HTML page. Okay, and we're going to put that into the heading element. But you can use it and you can link it, same as you do with any sort of other file that you're linking it to. You'll notice that the extension of your JavaScript file has to be saved as a .js file. Okay, we can look at that later. Okay, so JavaScript uses client-side scripting. The client is a computer system that runs the actual web browser. Now, you don't know what type of browser your client is using. Okay, the person that's viewing your website, they could also be using different devices to view your websites as well. Okay, so this is where it's quite important that you're creating websites that can be adaptable and can be used on mobile devices, on laptops, and on desktop computers. Okay. So JavaScript lets you execute code when events are detected, okay? And this uses event handler attributes, okay? And we add them into your HTML elements. As I mentioned before, the two that you need to know for National 5 are on mouse over, on mouse out. There are lots of other events out there that you can use with your files, but those are the two that you actually need to know about for this course, okay? Some common tasks that can be performed using JavaScript relate to how the web page responds to actions taken by the users, okay? So as I mentioned before, it could be you've got a photo gallery page and you want to use your on mouse over event. So when it scroll over a small thumbnail of a picture, it will increase size of it and make it a much larger picture so that you can actually see it. Then when you scroll away from the picture, the on mouse out event would actually change it back to the thumbnail size. So this is the script that we're going to add into our file, okay? Now, on the right-hand side there, I've got my HTML page here. Okay, so I'm actually just going to copy and paste this script in. Hope that that actually works by doing that. And I'm just going to stick it into the head element over here, okay? And just check that it's actually set up nicely. So I've got my function, mouse over. So this is the name of my function. You can call your function anything that you like. Okay, so I've just called it mouse over because it's going to be an event or a function when I scroll my mouse over. This is your standard text that you need to have. So document.getElement by ID. So we're using our selectors like we've used before. We're going to use an ID selector, and the ID selector is going to be called demo. This part here allows you to change your function, okay? Change your style of it. So this one here, we're going to change the color of it. I could add in some other lines down here where we actually change the size of it as well. So I might just do that just now as well, just so you get a better idea of it. So I'm going to highlight that whole line here again. Okay, I'm going to just copy that one. So I've just done a Control-C to copy it. And I'm going to press return. Now make sure you press return before the curly bracket, because we'll need that all to be contained within the curly bracket. And this time I'm going to change, instead of style color, I'm going to change this one to style font size. And I'm going to set it, I don't know, maybe we'll make it a little much larger, double the size of it or something. We'll go to 42. Okay. The function for mouse out is when my mouse scrolls off of the text. Okay. So when it scrolls off the text, it changes it back to black. And the other thing I want to do then is to change it back to its normal size. So I'm just going to copy this bit of code again in there, again making sure it's within your curly brackets, and I'm going to change that back to size 24. Okay, so now I've got my functions in here. So that's within the script tags that go within the head tag area. Okay, so the last thing then that I need to do with this, it explains that a little bit in here, what we're actually got going on here. So the last bit then that I need to do is to add in my ID. Okay, so I'm just going to put it into the H1 element here. Okay, again, I'm just going to put in this, and if I just copy this part again, just make it like a little bit easier, and just to that point there, and I'm going to stick that within my H1 element bit. Okay, so just to go through it, so we've got the ID demo. So this is my selector. So this, obviously, we've got the get element by ID, and it's called demo. So depending on what you call your ID, that could be totally different there. It has to match up with what you're calling it here. Okay. Now, on mouse over event is going to be looking for this function. Okay, this is the name of my function up here, the mouse over. Okay, and then my on mouse out event is going to be looking for this function, my mouse out function, which is why it's quite important that you call your function something meaningful, something, you know, that's relatable, so you actually know what it's doing. Okay, and then we've just got the text for your heading, and then you close your text. Okay, so I'm going to save that page as it is just now. I'm going to go back. If I open up my browser window there, okay, I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, and now when you see, if I scroll my mouse over it, you can see as soon as I put it over the head, and it changes to red and much bigger. And when I scroll away from it, changes it to black, puts it back to black, and it's smaller. Okay, so that is me having added in some JavaScript into my elements there. Okay, so it's as simple as that. The other one I'm going to show you, now this one is actually used more, this is actually more of a higher level, but I think it's actually quite a good function for you to have because we use it quite a lot with images. So I'm going to show you how we can add in a function where we're changing the image size of my image that I've got in there. So my little cool image there. So again, I'm going to set up my functions. I'm just going to type this one in just now. Now I'm just going to call it big image, something like that. And this time I've got to put in a parameter in with my image in this one, okay? You'll learn more about parameters later on, but it's just something to stick with. So I'm just going to call it, this is my parameter style here. So I've got X style. I'm going to make the height of it. Oh, it helps if I spell height correctly. And we're going to make it maybe 80 px. At the moment it's just set at 50, and you can see that down in the sizes down here. So I'm going to change it so it's 80, okay? And then semicolon and X style dot width. Again, I'm going to set that one to also 80 px. Okay, so that's my function for my big image. Now I've got to put in a function here for my smaller image or my normal image. Okay, and again, just using the parameter X, which we've got in this first line here. So again, X style dot height. In fact, I could just copy and paste this. Save a bit of time. Okay, and obviously we want it to go back to the normal size that it is. So for our normal Size, we'll change it back to 50. Okay, and that's our function created for my images. All right, so it's changing height, it's changing width. Okay, so down here in my image attribute, I need to add in my on mouse over and my on mouse out. Okay, so again, down here we've got on mouse over is going to be equal to the function called big image. So just make sure you're getting that correct. Now inside there, you'll notice I've just changed the parameter name to this, okay? Again, I'll go into more detail with that at higher level. On mouse out, we're changing it back to the normal image. And again, our parameter for this one is just this for this one as well. Okay, and then that's that added. So now if I save that page, I'm going to go back to my browser. I'm going to refresh it because if I don't refresh it, look, it doesn't do anything. So make sure you refresh it. Heading should still work. And now if I scroll over my image, you can see that that also now changes in size as well. So you can see how that would be really effective and handy if you've got a thumbnail image that you want to actually make it much bigger when somebody scrolls over it. So I hope that's helped you a little bit with adding in some JavaScript in there. Obviously, you can just literally copy the code that I've got in here. It's in the PowerPoint anyway, and hopefully that will help you. Thanks. Bye-bye.